Welcome to ReVoicing the Future, a Women of NAMM podcast, presented by AKG. Just as one revoices a chord, ReVoicing the Future creates a completely new perspective on the invaluable notes that make up the whole. It will uplift women's voices in the music products industry, which have earned their time to be the root of the chord. Once a month, you can catch productive and valuable conversations with women working in manufacturing, retail, the nonprofit sector, music education, touring, and overall women who inspire us. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. This podcast is co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen. What's up, everyone? Welcome to ReVoicing the Future. I'm your host, Natalie Morrison, and we're back. The duo is back.
We're back. It's me, Steph Lamond. Yeah, and we're back. And we are coming to you right after we just recorded what you're about to listen to. And we are just flying on cloud nine. It was beautiful.
And wonderful.
Yeah.
And we're both officially here. I mean, you've always been here in California, but now I'm here.
Yeah. Yep. You're in California. Yeah. You were in your new space today. Wow. Coming to you live from Long Beach. She is.
Yeah. I recorded the intro of last month's episode in this space.
Okay.
But I did the interview back in New York.
Wow. Exciting. Yeah. And I'm in the middle of my relocation to SoCal as well. So, oh boy, it is a big time. So things are chaotic, but good.
We're going to keep this intro short and sweet. There's not really much to update you on, except to keep an eye out for upcoming Women of NAMM programming events like the deep dives. And subscribe, follow us on social media.
Write a review if you feel called. That would be super
Share
cool.
the podcast with people.
Yeah. If people write reviews, we could start doing what the other podcasts do and read them in the intros. That could be fun. We could shout out people's new reviews.
Or questions. Oh my God, that could be so fun. Anyway.
Who's joining us today, Natalie?
The unbelievable, amazingly wonderful Mary Luehrsen, the executive director or the outgoing executive director of the NAMM Foundation. And we wanted to celebrate her and pay homage to the legacy and the work that she has done throughout her career in our industry and everything that she has done for music education. And I couldn't be more honored to have her in our corner as we go through this journey together.
What a foundational human being that we've had to learn from. So we're so grateful that we lived in the time of the mighty Mary Luehrsen at the NAMM Foundation.
And we can't wait for all of you to hear about her and her story. And hopefully she inspires you to scratch that itch, whatever it is.
Follow those curiosities. And that things can come quietly sometimes. She has so many nuggets of wisdom in this that I think we're going to walk off and stare out in the sunset and ponder.
Yes.
She's a wise one. So enjoy it. We can't wait for you to listen to.
Let us know what you think. And we'll see you next time.
Adios. Bye.
Hi, Mary. It is an honor to have you on ReVoicing the Future. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and Stephanie and Natalie. It's great to be with you, really.
We were just talking about how you were on the top of our wish list of people, but Steph and I have been wanting this episode specifically to be special because we want to honor you and your legacy and everything that you've done for the industry as you embark on this next chapter of retirement life. And I just couldn't think of a better send-off and celebration of you.
Well, that's so kind of you. I just remember both of you over the years coming to the NAMM show and doing so many things together. Your fathers are really significant members of the industry and leaders in the industry for decades and made a big impact on my life for certainly over all those decades. So, this is a really special thing that you both have committed to moving the industry forward. Really, really exciting. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Oh, You didn't need to give us a compliment too, but that's very, very nice.
We're already crying.
But as you were saying that made me think that's how I was describing what I was doing later this afternoon to another friend. And that's exactly how we think about you. This is so exciting. This woman has been just a fixture of our lives in this industry. And especially for me and NAMM growing up, I often say that I was really lucky that as we're doing this project, getting more women in the industry, I had so many models, and you are top of that list that I think of that I got to watch lead and be, like my dad was saying, the mighty Mary Luehrsen. I'm just grateful you were already doing it. So that's how we feel about you.
Well, thank you. And it's really nice to know that I could live so long to become a fixture. I like that. If I could be a fixture, it's a good thing. So it's good.
And it's awesome. We got to celebrate it. It's good. Yes. You are irreplaceable and an invaluable part of the whole.
Well, thank you. It means the most to me that it has some impact on your lives, honestly. I hope I can always be helpful. Always be helpful. Yeah, important.
Yes.
Yeah, let's dive into it. I would love to give people the opportunity to understand your journey from how you started in music to how did you end up as the executive director of the NAMM Foundation. So let's start from the beginning and where your love of music began.
I haven't told the story to many, but I've referred to it a few times in various talks and presentations. I was one of those kids that grew up in the middle of nowhere in rural Wisconsin and had the miracle of a rural school board that really believed that as part of a total education for children that were basically driving tractors when they weren't in school, that we needed that level of education in our lives. So I started flute very early. I had a musical mother and was involved with school and church and community music, but there was just something that was deep and long and true for me. And, if that opportunity had not been there early, none of that would have happened. And I think the dedication that evolved in my life to advocacy and the hard work of policy and representing and digging in and doing all those things is still grounded in that, because I think if the absence of that opportunity, I would have been a different intellectual person. I'd have different cognitive skills. I would have not been able to probably develop the gray matter to even make better decisions for myself. And we think of all the children everywhere, knowing that 3 out of 4 children in America now are living at or near or in the Title I requirements of poverty supports, that they need this opportunity. I don't know if I was in that category growing up, but as a rural kid, I think I was probably near that category. But still, the school board that was there in this small community, we had great teachers, we had sophisticated experiences, and then my life moved forward. So how I got to be executive director of the NAMM Foundation, well, that's just a long story. But the bottom line is the market development program was evolving at NAMM under Joe Lamond, following Bob Morrison's great work there. I moved into that role after a series of other staff changes, and I was doing the policy work together with the NAMM Foundation work that was established in 2006. And then I think some of the other stories that along the way will just share how it all just fell into place. The NAMM Foundation being the vehicle by which we went out and spoke to the general public, and we gathered partners and we built coalitions. And then in and through NAMM, we united the music business around advocacy and supporting those partnerships. So it became 2 sides of the same coin in the work going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And so with that too, it struck me as we were researching a little bit for all of this, that you had that first chapter in the music education side of it before you came to the business side then of that, and then to this part that we know you now in the NAMM part. And it's just such a beautiful example of how life is chapters. You can master something and then move on to something else, and it keeps building. And so part of what I was curious about too is, do you think that your core why that you were kind of evolving with this, was it always that, did you know the whole time what you were trying to do good for, or did it kind of evolve as your work experience evolved? Like, how did that look as you kind of chose each stage of your career too, as you had these big chapters up to then?
Great and thoughtful questions. I was dedicated to high level flute performance. I was a professional flutist. I was dedicated to the best possible music education as a teacher that I could do. But I think I learned way before music business programs taught us to be entrepreneurial and a serial careerist. So the idea of I did music ed degrees, I had certification, I went out and taught in public schools. I was always performing. I had a private studio. I went to graduate school. I followed sort of the music learning theory interest that I had. And I think that's probably the essence of the answer that I can provide you. It's like I had these itches.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I explained, how did I ever move from playing professionally, teaching for 16 full years, 16 years in the classroom, moving into an executive director of a symphony orchestra, having a little tiny period when I was fundraising consultant for a lot of other nonprofits, and then jumping into a global oil corporation and then jumping to NAMM. Now, how did that? Because I was always kind of following a little bit of an itch that I had.
Wow.
And the itch jumping into the arts management part of my life was really wanting to know the bigger picture. Taking that interest in the bigger picture and moving it into a Fortune 20 company was just like kind of following an itch. And then that's where it galvanized around government relations and policy. But I always had an advocacy agenda because I was a woman graduated from college in 1975, a product of the women's movement. So we were always, those of us there, we were leaning in. We had an obligation to lean in. And it felt heavy sometimes because we wanted other parts of our lives to develop too. But I just kept working, but I kept listening to what I really cared about. And luckily, I took risks to find the path. And when I came to NAMM, the job didn't exist. And I wrote a white paper to CEO Joe Lamond, who was just appointed as CEO. And I said, any chance you'd let me do this job? And he kind of said, yeah, let's give it a try. So maybe he had an itch to fill a gap for something that he knew he might need help with. And I had an itch to do the work and create something. So yeah, I felt very, very, very grateful. What's the moral of that story? We all have a feeling, we all kind of know, and get out of your own way to let it evolve. And also, as the famous Yankee manager, Joe Torre, would say, take little bites. And sometimes these opportunities don't come in big chunks. Something might come in a big chunk and you take a little bite of what you want in it and you learn and then you keep going forward.
Yeah. I love that. I'm laughing because this just resonates really well with me right now.
Every one of these always give Natalie and me as well, but like more on your face with Natalie, some kernel of wisdom that she really needs. Yeah. You already did it. So exciting.
So are we done? Oh, okay.
And I wanted to add to that too. I think there's a beautiful part of that, just that I've always heard of the part of that when you join NAMM that I've always heard from my dad was that he met you in the other context. And it was the thought of like, she needs to be part of this somehow. How does this happen? And so it's like, exactly, you're these little webs and you find these people that you know are just the right people to be with you in this work. And in that, right? Sometimes you don't have a fully fleshed out why. You just know these are your people to do this work with. And you just have to then write the playbook as you're going. But it's all trust.
And I think that a lot of these things come to you very quietly.
Oh, I love that.
So the whole idea of, the take little bites things. I went to graduate school for 2 years. I was kind of stuck in graduate school between year 1 and year 2, which happens. You sort out your research schedule and how you're going to be. And I was performing so much because I was kind of caught. I said, how can I build this portfolio that I'm going to be okay in a year? Right. So I can get out with this master's and yet I have the skill set that's not going to lock me into my next choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I offered to go back to campus and I started conducting. And that led down a completely separate path because people liked what I did and I was easy to get along with and all the things you got to be. I was enthusiastic. I supported my leadership training skills and all that. So, and I'm not a conductor, but as a teacher, I was conducting, but that wasn't my ambition. But I sort of went and added it to what I thought I could get done that next year. So it came to me very quietly.
I love that. I think also this is a really great example to show people who started down the path of performance and then went into education and it's okay if there's another interest point that you want to pivot to. It's okay. It's not a failure. It might not be what you expected when you started, but it's okay to kind of grow outside that box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Luckily, I was at a place where I had a dual purpose. I wanted to be the best. I was a best performer and a music educator simultaneously. But I hope that this era is a lot less put yourself in a box and stay there. I hope that it is a lot less about that. And the other thing is that in my era coming up, there was the first time there were people talking about serial careers. And it was like, serial careers, give me a break. Do they know any musicians? I mean, they conduct the choir on the Sunday, they're rehearsing for a wedding on a Saturday, and they teach 5 days a week. And from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, they have a private studio with 35 students, and then they gig and they're playing a wedding. I said, serial careers? Artistically, we've got a lot of energy for that. And I did that too. I always said I had 3 jobs. And why? Because I wanted an apartment and a little car. That's all I wanted, And I got it.
Yeah. That's all you wanted. What I want to get into too is just kind of like what it means to be the executive director of a foundation as well. So people can know this career path too. But I'm curious, I think this can segue. Is that something that you took into being in one job, right? Versus that kind of have your hands in multiple buckets. And how did that serve you? And how did you also kind of stay on one thing when you needed to? Because that's hard to switch between when we're bred, I think, to do so many things at once.
Well, NAMM was a highly focused job.
Mm-hmm.
We created something from nothing. We created the programs of the NAMM Foundation. Didn't exist before the NAMM Foundation came into being. You guys came up through the Gen Next program. That was a program that we created with the College Music Society. Music Education Days was created, bringing all these music teachers to the NAMM show and uniting the industry with education. Our nonprofit partners, bringing them in, our grantees. It's like 1% of the job or 0.005% of the job is ceremonial, and you're sort of out there in the world and everybody's asking you for money. Okay. But it's a highly organized managerial job. And luckily, I had a wonderful staff that was running all these programs and our grant programs. It's very communication-based. It's very outreach-based. You're really promoting and supporting the brand and the NAMM brand, bringing people to the NAMM show. So all these things have to run forward, like the businesses that you women are involved in. They have to run with real integrity, real purpose, real structure. People need direction and they need support. So once we got rolling in the gig, I got rolling in the gig, after I was a standalone public affairs person from 2001. When I came to NAMM till about 2004 and 5, kind of through the Rose Parade experience. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for reminding me of those nightmare years. But
I want to talk about it. Probably a nightmare for you, but some of my favorite childhood memories. Still in shock.
I'll never forget going to our NAMM CEO after 6 years of it and saying, Joe, this is how much we're spending on the Rose Parade. He said, if given the freedom, we could spend this money in a really significant way in other places. So we did some experimenting and we did. But, it just requires like every person in a job. You have to be organized. You have to be accountable. You have to assess, sometimes yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, how much can you get done? And then you have to set the goals and you got to keep moving in that direction. So leaving NAMM now, we've got some really great programs in the NAMM Foundation that I think can support the NAMM Foundation going forward, keep attracting donors to the NAMM Foundation, a really great staff. I can't say much enough about the staff that's at NAMM that I got to work with for all those years. And we had a lot of fun too. So.
Yeah. I mean, in that, what are some of your favorite that you think back on, right? Like your favorite memory wins of programs that you were able to put on?
And or legislation.
Yeah. Or advocacy. So we can get into that.
Yeah. Those 3 NAMM Foundation programs that I mentioned, I'm very, very proud of. This last NAMM show, now the NAMM show moving back to its January cycle, we had 6,000 registrants in those programs.
Wow.
That's 6,000 lives changed, 6,000 partners to our NAMM members who are moving the market forward and creating more music makers. Very, very proud of that. And they'll evolve and they'll change and they'll be what they need to be for the future. Training our NAMM members to be advocates and growing into that role. And they're so great. It was like turning a switch. It's like giving them a little bit of training and turning on a switch and then moving the legislative experiences forward. I also like to say we made a lot of hay in the Obama years in the Every Student Succeeds Act, music embedded into the federal law, and a new grant program, the Title IV Part A. But it's the energy of those NAMM members coming to Washington and then what they did back home. So we had more state coalition work and more celebrations going on at home because of NAMM members being trained in that advocacy effort. So that on top of putting you on the Roast Parade float, Stephanie, that definitely...
that takes the cake. There you go.
I would like to say that I watched it on TV.
Shout out Valeska, too. We got to shout her out in this moment for my little drumming partner. And Amanda. Amanda did that, too, with me.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And my daughter, Amanda. And that visibility was part of what the goal was.
Yeah.
Natalie, you watching it, is it because NAMM was a kind of an invisible organization except to its members who thought the NAMM show was important. But how could NAMM use its history, its legacy, to make more people understand the value of making music? And luckily, even in the Roast Parade, that partnership that we had with Sesame Street, and everybody knew Sesame Street. So we just put those characters on the float playing instruments, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe my kids should be more involved with music. That was the whole goal.
I think it was brilliant.
Influencers, pre-influencers.
Truly, it's brilliant partnerships. That's awesome.
Right. We had fun.
I did.
Yeah.
We all did.
So I want to go back. You brought up a really great point about how when you graduated college, you were part of the women's movement. I would love to talk about being a woman and how that has intersected into your roles, because you've been able to walk in many worlds that traditionally were more male dominated, government lobbying, music products. So what was this like? And did you ever receive pushback? And what do you think made you successful in this?
I love that question. I think I spent more time thinking about that. So when I said I came up as part of the women's movement, I just want you to know I wasn't, quote unquote, part of it. I wasn't writing. I wasn't promoting.
You were in spirit part of it.
I was being dramatically influeed by it. It's just, you couldn't be alive then and not get that energy. Or if you were, you just never wanted to have that energy in your life to start with. So yeah, I experienced what I guess one would say is kind of marginalization, but very, very early in my life and more on the conducting side of things that I did in the music education side, the performance side. It was just about showing up and playing the notes, and you had to be the best available. And that was my job, to be the best available. So I think I approached that a lot of things were mysterious, but they weren't an obstacle.
That's cool.
And that, again, was probably just a mindset that I got as a kid that says, why do certain people behave that way? But it wasn't going to stand in my way.
Yeah.
And then having a network and of friends, and once my parents were extremely helpful with that. Once. I remember very, very deliberately them being helpful, especially my dad. So I think if you've got just the right sounding board, so we can talk about women to women networks too. I know that's what this is all about too. So recently I was reading a very important political policy book, and it included a lot of stories of women that worked in the various White House administrations, and some of the very first women that weren't secretaries. And they actually had top-level security clearance, and they were really important on the military liaison side. And there's a great line was, everybody wants to be at the table. And if you are and are doing what it takes, you will be at the table. And I think that for us if we have to concentrate less on the table and more about, am I developing the skills to be at that table? What do I need to know to be at that table? What do I need to have in my skill set to be at that table? And yes, sometimes, I mean, certainly for a professional flutist, I had to be better than the next option, right? I mean, I already knew about competition, right? I wasn't afraid of competition. I just knew I had to be the best I could be. So that was also, you could say, kind of the downside of the women's movement, because we put so much on ourselves to have that preparation. Now, again, I think the world has evolved and it's a better time, right? But for women to advance to top level management and to CEO levels, which is what we want, and to own businesses and attract investors, everything that businesses want now, we got to have a really strong skill set, and we have to go back and work on it ourselves.
Sharpen the tools in our toolbox.
Right.
That strikes me too as a really brilliant, I wrote that down because I think that can kind of inform, I think, how one moves forward in these times trying to get more women into things, right? Like we can all day shout that there need to be more women in something, but the way to actually do it and fill that table is to close that gap of why there aren't. And that's the work that needs to be done. And that is a really great way to frame that work. Like, how do we just give everybody the tools they need to be at that table? That's the mission right there.
And provide the opportunity. I mean, I look at, the Yale Business School. I look at Northwestern University's Business School. They now have channels for women to develop to learn how to serve on a corporate board. Didn't exist 10 years ago. So it's like you say, no one's looking at me to be in a corporate board, but why don't you go learn about what that means? And maybe in 3 years, they're going to look at you to be in a corporate board. So it's like the table has to be fair. It has to be equitable. And now we have laws and we have training and we have processes that corporations and businesses have to abide by. We also know that we have public reputation that businesses have to abide by. I mean, we have a lot of pressure about it, but no one's going to walk up to us and hand this to us.
No, life is not that easy.
And we don't expect them to.
No.
And if there's anything that relates to everything that I've said before, I was always interested in stuff. I wanted to do more. And that's kind of right where I am now, too.
That itch, that's curiosity.
I love that. Curious nature.
Yeah.
It pushes you along.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, like curiosity and like something you were saying with the reputation, right? There's just so much to be aware of. I wanted to talk to you too about in this role, the way that the NAMM Foundation and the advocacy work of NAMM has been able to, like say, like reach across the aisle, be able to appeal to everybody. It's such a valuable skill set that you all have been able to do. And so, I mean, and it's so complicated. And so do you have any advice or thoughts for things that we can all learn from of how NAMM has navigated that and advocacy and all that? Because it's such a wildly divided time, but it can't be, or we will self-destruct. So what can we learn from what you all were able to accomplish and do looking back?
We were lucky that we had a cause that was so universal.
Yeah, that's true. That's the biggest thing, I think.
And we can never underestimate that we have to sell that cause. And a lot of times you kind of go, well, everybody agrees. Why do we bother? We work so hard at it. I'm sorry. We're competing with other issues. We're competing with other societal needs. We're competing. We have to bring it forward. We have to keep pushing it forward. But the challenge is everybody could agree. If I had a Democrat and a Republican, they're all going to say yes to this one.
Yeah.
That music is important and they would not want to deny it to their grandchildren. And I've had Republicans and Democrats say that to me. Now, both sides of the aisle, I asked them to actually do something. They're going to have to go confer with what's going on with their party and with their caucus before they actually do something specific. So our challenge is to get them to do something. And sometimes just saying that, yes, I think it's really important, that's enough. Because now at least we've got that in the bank. And then we keep chipping away at getting them to do something. It took us 10 years to get Every Student Succeeds to move forward.
Wow.
10 years. And bad things happen in a school district if people don't stay on it. If you have one band booster show up at every school board meeting, it's going to be a lot better for that music education program than no one shows up. So it's kind of the consistency because people know it's important. if you were a Democrat or Republican, we didn't care. You were going to hear our message, and we were going to ask for your support for music at least, and to verbalize your support for music as a value. And then the hard work of getting them to do something we took on together. That'll never go away, I don't think. That's just where we are.
I love that. Speaking of, you're alluding to the fly-in, which has been a huge success for the NAMM Foundation. I have yet to attend a fly-in, but it is on the top of my list of things that I want to do. But I love watching my friends and colleagues experience it for the first time, because I've had that side angle view into it, and just seeing how inspired they come out of just those few days in DC, spreading that message and the awareness about the importance of music and music education and the work that the NAMM Foundation is doing. It's awesome to really see that wave of people come into this world more. And it inspires me to see that there are more people who want to champion that message and push that forward. So for those who are listening and want to get involved, how can they start to get involved with the advocacy fly-in side of the NAMM Foundation?
Well, even though I'm not directly, I was just involved with the fly-in that occurred this last November, and we had about 90 NAMM members come to Washington, D.C. for the fly-in. I think, Natalie, why it is so inspiring is that people are finding their voice, right? They get trained, they get motivated, they get to hear directly from members of Congress. We gather with congressional icons as part of our celebration. They see the wheels of government working in a way by meeting young staffers that are interested in our issue and help move. So they see something that's sort of out there, remote, and they realize that our democracy they are part of it. So we just connect these, big ideals that through good training and good mobilization of them. There is another fly-in being planned for May 2025. I think there'll be an information session available to any NAMM member or their employees coming in January at the NAMM show. There will be an info meeting. It's my understanding. And I think if there's a staff member on a NAMM member company that's got the itch to go on the fly-in, come to that information meeting, get the information, and take it back to your group and say, we really need to plan for this. We need to learn. And this is how NAMM companies have been so successful with the fly-in. They've taken what they've learned, they've brought it back, and they've integrated those tactics into their company. They've had members of Congress come to their businesses. The staff has gotten involved with local school district advocacy if there's things going on. So January, come, advocate in your company for a slot. Your company will support you to pay a nominal fee, fly to NAMM, be there, get the training, and bring it home to the company.
Ding, ding, ding.
And so we're looking ahead to January. What do you hope for the future of the NAMM Foundation, too, now that you're handing it off in a little bit? What do you hope for that?
Yeah, well, I feel that I've already handed it off to our new CEO, John Malinczak, who gratefully has a wonderful and important commitment to the NAMM Foundation. I'm so proud that he came up through the NAMM fly-in program and the NAMM Foundation advocacy materials and its network. He himself is a music educator, a wonderful professional trumpet player. He's got a vision for it. And I think it is time to pass that vision to probably a larger board, a more integration with the NAMM organization in terms of market development activity. The policy work, the fly-in work, is now formally moved to the membership side of NAMM. We were always kind of a hybrid between the two. So I think the fly-in, that is. So I think that with a new executive director who will be coming on in the next few weeks, there'll be a chance for the NAMM members to support the NAMM Foundation with more intention and more commitment to the work that it does. Again, that's just all a product of the work so far. So NAMM is unique. I think part of its uniqueness is that just like the show, which gathers all these brands and diverse music-making experiences under one roof, the NAMM Foundation has been a place where all these diverse music service organizations, teachers, out-of-school time, community-based organizations, the Make Music Day Alliance, all of those great cities and towns, they've been able to find a place that they can be enriched and supported. And when we can enrich and support them, I think the NAMM Foundation is kind of known for that, and it can keep building on that. I'm very excited about its future.
I'm excited too. I love the Careers in Music initiative. I think that's going to be a huge shift just because it's a conversation that should always be had. Like, there are so many careers that you can have in this industry that doesn't necessarily require you to teach and or perform.
Mm-hmm. We had to crack that code. We had to be part of cracking that code. And I'm so grateful we were. And we're also keeping up with the times because there's a big shift happening in our college campuses and our training schools toward accountability towards, well, what's after the degree? And if we're not at least preparing them for what they really can develop as part of their lives after the degree. So NAMM and Gen X and the NAMM show and the NAMM Business Network are such an important part of this as we go forward.
Yeah.
So what's next for Mary?
Well, I'll talk about the next chapters, but can I talk one more thing about the women's movement?
Please.
Yes.
Would you mind? Because I did make a note about this. I talked about the everybody wanting a place at the table. And I think that we do, and we deserve it, and we need to have it, and we need to keep building our skill set so we can, and we will be at the table, and we are at the table in so many places, and we're changing the table. The table is evolving. Mm-hmm. The other piece of that I think my generation didn't learn probably as well as your generation is learning and is implementing through the things like the Women of NAMM Summit and other really great experiences, because it's based on the reality that maybe, certainly in my time, women were heard differently.
Mm-hmm. Say more.
Interesting.
We were heard differently. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can go back to some old movies and it's right in front of everybody. I mean, it's like you can see it right in front. But I think that there's a role in those moments when women are heard differently for women who have developed a network either silently or intentionally to speak up more for one another. Mm-hmm. Again, reading this policy book, and the great Madeleine Albright interjected in a meeting. She was one of the first women in our national security environment ever, right? And she had a woman, not at her level, of course, but in the senior level, that said something, and a man said the same thing, and then all the men said, oh, that's a great idea. Madeleine Albright went back and said to everybody, it's great that you understood the idea that she presented to all of us.
Oh, yes. What a beautifully subtle way to phrase that.
Here we have a moment, and you shifted. You didn't really insult anybody or get mad. Mm-hmm. Well, there was a little bit of tension there. But women networking together to make sure that we are really being intentional with the way that we make sure that the other woman is acknowledged and that we take some responsibility to help that acknowledgement is where it needs to be. And sometimes I think it's like we emulated what we saw the men doing and taking ideas, and that we kind of go, no, wait, we're not going to emulate that. If we hear a great idea, heard, it goes back to being heard, mm-hmm. that we will then be part in a way that's not going to make people uncomfortable. But let's make sure that credit is really acknowledged and not over-acknowledged and not, just kind of, and then all of a sudden trust and confidence changes and grows. And then the real value that everybody brings to the table is elevated.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It points to the narrative also that floats around of there's only room for one when that's not true. And people might still have that mindset of, mm-hmm. there's only room for one of us. Or again, this competitive mindset that there's only one seat at the mm-hmm. table, so I got to do whatever it takes to get that seat. No, that's not the case. We have to be open to all.
Right. Mm-hmm. Even representing NAMM that I did all those many years, there's a lot of really strong organizations. Mm-hmm. And you know what? You want them all to be strong.
Yeah.
And a big motto I had in interacting with organizations is like, how can we help? Mm. How can you come to the NAMM show and extend and make your mission and vision stronger? How can you be part of us and be stronger? It's not a trade-off, it's additive. It's adding more. That was always our point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept us really busy. If you're going to have that point of view, you're not going to be silent. You're not going to be quiet.
She's not going to be quiet. No, but it's exactly it. Yeah.
All right. So what's next? Well, I'm following an itch. What can I tell you? To have more time to be learning new things is the greatest gift of all. And I was yearning for it and I was longing for it. And I felt like I just was so ready to move into a place of learning new things. And so I'm doing that, but I also gratefully have a wonderful gig at the University of South Carolina where I am a professor of practice. And I've been doing that for a couple of years, just very, very subtly around the edges. And it's part of this new evolution of this new curriculum. I'm teaching every college music major in their freshman or sophomore year. We've just changed to sophomore. They have a music advocacy and leadership course.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Can I take that course?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, get on it. Get it.
And then I teach a graduate level course, which is actually taking really, really advanced doctoral level musicians and scaffolding a project or idea as an architect. They could really design something as a community service outreach project that could sit on the shelf and they could pull it off someday and actually implement it. And I'll tell you, this has been some brilliant work. Once you broaden out what they're capable of thinking of in terms of community context and how nonprofits work and how they could attract money to a project and how they could build something, it's really been exciting. You learn so much by teaching. I'm excited about that.
I love that.
That's amazing. Well, and in that, I really was excited to ask you this question. Is there something that you would go back and tell yourself at 20 about this whole path ahead of her? And full disclosure, I'm stealing that from the Julia Louis-Dreyfus podcast, Wiser Than Me. It's the best, but it's a beautiful question.
I like that. Yeah, I would be really dishonest if I didn't say I had a lot of insecure moments along the way. And I had a lot of uncertainty and sadness that things weren't moving fast enough, or, I got married fairly late. I had a child really fairly late, but all these things, they did happen. They did happen. So someone said, well, you have more patience. Well, that's just, you can't say that, right? Because it's like, we're impatient.
Yeah. That's how we're going to do all these things, is we're impatient.
I know, we're impatient. We want to strive. We want to go. I guess the biggest thing is to counter the anxiety, I guess, and the lack of confidence is the word of advice I would have given myself was listen. Just listen. That quiet thing when you have to really have to listen to what's happening in your life. And that truly, after working for 52 years straight, right? And family and careers and degrees and school and people, it really does work out. Because, and this is the because, ultimately, I never had a doubt that I could figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not about knowing, it's about being able to figure it out. And listening, right? A little bit of listening. It's like, well, I'm really bored with this part of my life, but I got this big itch. Well, that's impossible. No, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Where do you think that came from? Did you come in with that? Or was that, like, where did you get that?
I don't know. I think it was just desperation. I had to figure it out.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing.
What was boredom was an option. Boredom is a real danger for me. So
same here.
Yeah.
Boredom was an option. So it's like, if that's the option, no, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going back to this little kid who grew up on a farm, right? I mean, I too was driving tractors. You're out in the backfield. No, you're all by yourself. And the thing turns off.
What are you going to do?
You got to figure it out. I guess there's a clutch. I guess there's a thing. I guess there's a gear. I guess, somebody showed me once, but I can't remember. So you figure it out. I think maybe we all have that. And it's like also the musical training, right? I mean, how many scores were put in front of me and I figured it out. Right? right? And figured it out. Music is great for that, right? Musical training is great for that. I think life training is great for that. It's simple. It's pretty simple. It's like, start where you are, right? This is right where we are. And it's like, take steps in the direction, listen, what's the itch? And take steps in the direction. And the other thing is talk to people and have a network and share.
Reach out and connect.
Now, what is probably not next for me is a big social media presence because, ladies, I do not get social media.
That's good. Just don't. It's not adding anything
Just
to our lives, I don't think. And I'll speak for myself, but
no, it's a necessary evil with the times that we're in, but it sucks the life out of you.
But if you find it's not, then you don't do it. If it's an unnecessary evil, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to remember that and not worry about it anymore. So
let that one go. Let that one go.
You're not missing anything.
But I'll follow both of you. So no problem.
Yeah. Like when it's true connection, then that's okay. When there's just that, it's just how to keep it that way.
So if I come back to you for some mentoring, I might need to do that. So, okay.
So is there anything you were rarely or never asked in interviews over the years that you always wished you could talk about?
I did hire when I wanted the big job at the global energy company, oil company. I did hire an interview coach. So it was like, I said, boy, I really want this job. And I've never worked in a place like this before. And I better go out and get myself a rock style. And I found a woman who was a retired HR director at IBM. I got lucky. And she took me through preparation. Again, it was all about really wanting something and realizing I had to go out and get the chops so I could convince them that I was good to be in the job, right? With no experience. Most of the questions I got were, would I be a good fit for the organization? I never got that question.
Interesting.
What was my vision of the organization? And could I perceive myself being a good fit? Because that's all that matters. You have to really be able to fit into the organization at the right time for you and for them. And you have to figure out that alignment initially because you're not instantly aligned. It's just not instantaneous. So how would you describe your fit for our organization? Because ultimately I had to go in and figure it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes we never had that conversation. If we could have had that conversation earlier, I think everybody would have moved forward faster. Well, media interviews. Well, see, the other tactic I had was I deferred. My place was to elevate the visibility of others.
I knew you were going to say that.
And if it was a researcher, if it was a nonprofit organization, it was a partner. If it was our CEO, it was not my job to be the hood ornament. It was my job to promote the emblematic people that were most identifiable in our industry. And again, that's just really knowing how to optimize the work and to make the work important to everybody. It's nice that it was appreciated. It makes me feel good that it was appreciated. Ultimately, it was seen, right? It was recognized and seen. So,
I mean, it's, I think, inspired both of our life paths. So that's, I think, the biggest thank you I can give you is I think you changed at least 2 lives. And I know the number is vastly beyond that. So.
Well, I just want to know off camera and at another time, how else I could help you. That's the beauty of it too. You know, it's like, where are you now and what help do you need now? Because that goes on forever, really.
I love that.
Well, and that spirit to keep that with you is also just a beautiful thing to be able to cultivate. The little bits I'm able to do that with people that are just starting in music, it's so rewarding, and that's how the network grows. So I think that question that you just asked, right, is what we should all, I think, be cultivating in ourselves. And that's right, the women supporting women thing, and even other people around you that aren't women in general, like that spirit of that is really, really beautiful. And it's just going to come back in good ways to you.
Yeah. I know that we're at a time where not everyone agrees by the diversity, equity, inclusion ideals. I think it's a very, very, very important next step forward for so many parts of our lives. And the fact that it's here in the business sector being seriously implemented in a lot of places. It's on our college campuses, of course, and in our communities. And then there's certain places where people are electing to say that's not part of our deal, right? We have another set of guidelines and values and whatnot. But let's just move forward. I think that we are creating opportunities for everyone to live fully and strongly in this world. I hope that's a part of my life too, is I turn into a much older person.
The wise woman. You're the wise woman in the best way.
I can stay strong and open. I can stay strong and open. It's really important.
I love that.
And when I was 8 years old, it was amazing. The first tone I made on the flute was flawless.
Oh, of course.
What can I say? And the guy kind of went, huh? And then he put my hands on it and my hands fitted perfectly.
It was destined to be.
And everybody kind of went, what? So every kid has to have that, right? Every kid.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I could never do it with the violin. Forget it.
You find your thing. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up again because I wanted to highlight what you said. I love how you spoke about music and that you having that music education is how you had the gray matter, the decision-making prowess. Like we need to be thinking and expressing music education in that way because that's what it does. And if we can all, exactly how you referred to that, start building that into our vocabulary, that's how we make it less of a nice to have and more of a, this is a life-saving aspect of education and development. So I just want to, as I do, highlight, underline, uplift how you did that. If everybody could rewind and listen to how Mary talked about that, and we can model that because that is how we need to be talking. I just want to highlight how important that is. It's a subtle nuance, but it's the one.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Well, Mary, I can't thank you enough for one, joining us and having this beautiful conversation, but for everything that you have done for our industry.
We're so grateful.
Thank you.
This industry is in a wonderful place because you had a huge hand in that.
Well, the fact that you both are sharing that with me, it leaves me speechless. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. And good luck to Women of NAMM and this wonderful podcast. I'll be listening.
Yay.
Thanks for listening to this episode of ReVoicing the Future. You can subscribe to the podcast on all major streaming platforms or visit our website. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things Women of NAMM. This episode was co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. See you next time.